Welcome to the stream. How's everyone doing today? Happy Saturday in the middle of this awesome Easter weekend. I hope that you're all doing well. I'm Dave Knapp, man on the Mounjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. That's why you're here. And we're streaming all over the place. That sounded bad. But we are live streaming all over the place on TikTok. Welcome TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. We're all over the place today. So welcome. If you're new here, drop an N in the chat next to your name. Let me know that you're new here. I'd love to welcome you by name. Hey, Sabrina. Hey, Mike. Hey, Stream Virtual. How are you? Marty, Lil Chi, Big T. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you all for being here. Make sure as you jump in, you hit that like button, share this with somebody who might enjoy it. We're going to get into the topics of the week because there's so much to talk about in the world of GLP-1s right now, and I am here for it. And I know you are too, so that's why we're just gathering here on a Saturday afternoon to talk about some absolutely interesting news in the world of GLP-1s. Here to take your questions, comments, just interact a little bit with you, and just talk about the medications that we're on and the experiences that we have with our various and respective journeys. So good to have you here, and we'll get going here in just a minute. We've been talking a lot on my channel about what? Hashtag release the vials, right? Hashtag release the vials has been a campaign that I feel like is really gaining some traction. This is live. Melva, thank you for being here. Shelly's new. Thank you for being here. Josh, welcome. Thank you for being here. Eunice, Daniel, thank you for being here. And so, we are, Bernie's going to talk to Novo Nordisk. Yeah. Hopefully some stuff happens. Hopefully we get some traction there. Burdell, welcome. Thank you for being here. And make sure you share this into all the groups that you're in. If you're in a Facebook group and it's about Mounjaro or Zepbound or any of these medications, share it. We're just trying to get the word out. Mama, thank you. Christina, thank you. Welcome. We're streaming everywhere today. So if I can't keep up with all the comments, forgive me, but we're on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere today. X, Twitter, if you're watching on X, let me know. But the one thing that I wanted to make sure that we got into today was the topic of the Release the Vials. We're going to get right into it. So Release the Vials has been a campaign that we've gotten going here. Drop hashtag Release the Vials in the chat if you have seen those videos. If you are having trouble finding your Mounjaro or your Zepbound, put whether you're on Mounjaro or Zepbound in the chat. If you're having trouble finding it, put where you're at in the country and put which medication you're on. Right now, the FDA has not said that the Zepbound medication is in an official shortage, but let me tell you, I'm here to tell you, and Zach will tell you too, who's can't find his Zepbound, Luis, Stream, they can't find their Zepbound. Everybody, Zepbound in Arizona out. There is a shortage. There is a massive shortage. This is a massive issue. So we've got this campaign, hashtag Release the Vials. We've got the pens, right? We've got the injector pens, whether you're on Zepbound or whether you're on Mounjaro, we've got the pens. But back in July of last year, Raleigh, North Carolina, no Zepbound. Last year in July, at the end of July, the FDA approved single-dose vial presentations of Mounjaro, right? And what this effectively meant was that Eli Lilly, in addition to releasing these pens in Mounjaro, they could release vials, sterile vials that have the medicine in them, and you draw it out with an insulin syringe and administer it yourself. Diabetics have been giving themselves insulin this way for years and years. And so that was approved. Now, later on, you would see Eli Lilly would come out and they would say essentially that that the vials were going to be for ex-US markets, meaning not here, not in the United States. And that's what we've seen. We've seen Zepbound launch in single-dose vials in Australia. We've seen them launch in single-dose vials in Canada. And we've even heard of some places over in the United Kingdom where those have popped up as well. Now, the interesting thing is they could drop them here now. Today, it's approved in the United States, and they could help alleviate the supply of these pens, because the pens are the bottleneck of the supply chain, right? These are very complicated pens. Oftentimes, I'll take one here, do it right here while we're talking. I'll show you how easy these are to take apart, but how complicated they are on the inside. There are multiple moving parts here. You've got basically this mechanism at the top, which is going to be, what releases it. It's spring loaded in there. You've got the actual vial itself here. You've got the cap. You've got, another spring inside. It's just a very complicated little device to manufacture. And many of these pens, if not most of these pens, are manufactured by third-party companies. So they're out from under the thumbs of Eli Lilly. And let me tell you, anytime that you're a manufacturer and you're working with a third-party vendor to make anything for you to get to market, it can be a real logistical nightmare, especially if they have trouble finding parts or sourcing parts. And of course, you're talking about pens that have to be manufactured in sterile facilities because they're going to contain medicine. So all of these things come together to make a environment as Zepbound continues to write about 100,000 new scripts per week. That's a tremendous amount. So you think about that. There's 4 pens, right, per month. So if they're writing 100,000 new scripts a week, that is 400,000 additional pens that they have to manufacture each week. And you extrapolate that out to a month, that's 1.6 million extra pens they need to manufacture every month just to meet demand. And even though they've brought on additional manufacturing capacity, they simply cannot meet that. So that's why we're saying hashtag release the vials. If they release the vials, the single dose vials, they theoretically should be able to manufacture those much, much faster than the pens and alleviate the supply issues that we're having with Mounjaro and maybe move some of those pens over to Zepbound. But we found out some amazing news. So you're going to use hashtag release the vials anytime you're making content or talking about the shortage that you're dealing with. But this is the exciting thing that I found this week. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to share this with you or not, but let's see here. It's not going to let me choose that one. I don't know why it does that. There was an update from the FDA website this week, and I want to give you a little context to this because I follow the FDA website like a hawk, right? And back in July, when Eli Lilly got the single dose vials approved, that new presentation of the medication approved. Thank you for those who are following. If you're just getting in here, you're new, hit subscribe, hit like, hit share, do all the things that helps get this out to other people who are on the pen, help me grow the community. So yeah, subscribe if you're on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook, like, follow, share, all the things. But the single dose vial presentation, what was preceded by that was a submission and an approval to the FDA. And all of this is public information. So on the 28th of March, we saw an announcement from the FDA that an action was taken to add supplemental label container, carton labels, labeling medication guide, and label packaging insert addition for Zepbound. Now, like I said, the last time this happened for Mounjaro, that's when we heard about the additional presentations of Mounjaro. So what I'm thinking, this is for Zepbound, right? This is Zepbound that this announcement was made for. So we don't have the labels. We cannot be 100% sure. Thank you for the gifts over on TikTok. 10% of all the gifts this month are going to go to one paid member, either on YouTube or TikTok, to help defray the cost of their medication. So thank you for those who give gifts, and thank you for those who become members, paid members. I appreciate that. But this is for Zepbound, and Zepbound is only available in the United States. In other words, Eli Lilly has told us that as they launch Mounjaro overseas, that Mounjaro will be launched as Mounjaro and not any other brand. So whether it's weight loss or diabetes that you're taking it for overseas, it is the brand name Mounjaro, not Zepbound. So this being something that's being pushed through for Zepbound is really exciting because we could potentially be seeing any combination of the following: a multi-dose click pen, the Ozempic pen. Eli Lilly has their own version of this where you kind of click the top and then find your dose and then click the button and insert. You have to add your own needle to it every time you do it. So you get these little needle cartridges. You change the needle every time, and it's basically 1 month supply in one pen. So we could be seeing that. We know that Eli Lilly launched Mounjaro in their multi-dose click pen overseas this past month in the United Kingdom. So we could be seeing that. We could be seeing the single dose vials, or we could be seeing altogether another presentation. We know that there are other things that they have been working through the FDA. So my hope And what I'm sort of theorizing is happening at this time is we may see, while we've been waiting for Eli Lilly to release single dose vials of Mounjaro, we may see an additional presentation of Zepbound in the United States. We'll have to watch this closely. You know, I will stay on top of this. This is why you follow Man on the Mounjaro, so that make sure that you hit subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hit that bell notification so that you get a notification when I upload videos. If you're on TikTok, make sure you hit subscribe. If you join my team by giving one gift, click that little heart up there. You give one gift, you join my team. TikTok's going to prioritize my content as you jump on the app. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, make sure that you follow there as well. I have a page, Man on the Mounjaro, and I also have a Facebook group called Zepbound for weight loss. So if you're not part of that group, a lot of conversation takes place in there. So I hope that that's helpful for you all. I know that most of the conversations happening right now are around these shortages. And that's why I say, come to me to find your information. There are other creators that follow this too, but nobody follows it quite as closely as I do. Follow me for all the latest and greatest updates on the shortages, because the FDA website is still telling us that Zepbound isn't in shortage. And if you can't find your Zepbound right now, just put Zepbound in the chat. And I think you'll be blown away by the amount of people who cannot find their medicine currently. Like Julie, who's in San Diego, she's been out of her 10 milligrams for a month, and they want her to switch to Ozempic. She has a 7.5 in place of a 10. So there's been all this talk about people moving up a dose, down a dose, being off the medication for an extended period of time. We don't know how this affects people, right? So this is very difficult. I'm seeing over on TikTok, KB, can't find her Zepbound, Liz, Carrie, Mo, Kelly, AC over on YouTube. We got Aaron, Luis. I mean, it's just a major, major issue. So that's what we're going to be following really closely. If we can get another presentation released, and I think that this information that I found on Zepbound via the FDA is really, really good news. So if you're new to Zepbound, and if you're not new, this isn't going to be particularly new news, but I do want to give you just some ideas of what you can do if you're struggling to find your dose right now. First of all, make sure that you're calling many pharmacies. Just do a Google search of pharmacies in my area and call all of them. And what you can do with the bigger pharmacies is you can ask them, if they can't find it, to do a 50-mile radius search. So just ask them if they can do a search in a 50-mile radius and find out where the medicine might be within their system. And it's important to understand that different pharmacies use different wholesalers. The wholesalers get the medications from the manufacturers, and the wholesalers provide the pharmacies with the medication. And there are many wholesalers, and every pharmacy uses somebody different. So that's why it's important to call around, because the wholesaler level is where the shortage is going on right now. Sabrina wants me to explain why they won't release the vials. So I think what the concern is, and this will hit a threshold where I think this will make business sense for them to release it. But I think the biggest fear with the single dose vials is that they're afraid of people splitting doses. So if you think about the fact that you have in the single dose vials, if you have a 15 milligram dose for a month, that's 60 milligrams of tirzepatide. So 60 milligrams of tirzepatide is going to equate for somebody who is on the 2.5 milligram dose of, say, Zepbound. That's going to, let's see, I'm going to have to do a little bit of quick math here. It's just an important context to have. So you have 60 milligrams in a 15 milligram month supply. If you divide that by 2.5, somebody who's on 2.5, that's 24 doses, right? So that is like 6 months worth of medicine for somebody who's camping out at the 2.5. And so they're afraid of a lost revenue, right? But right now they're having to turn people away from the medicine. So at a certain point, it's going to make business sense for them to not turn people away. And also, you can't forget about the fact that they're losing tons of customers right now to compound medications, right? So at some point it will make business sense. People have asked me a lot about Lilly Direct, right? So I think the misconception with Lilly Direct is that Lilly Direct is medicine straight from Eli Lilly. That's not at all what it is. Essentially what you have through Lilly Direct is Eli Lilly has made a website that connects you, the patient, to telemedicine. So you can get on their website. You can be connected to doctors who will then prescribe medications where it is medically appropriate. And then on the back end, they'll send that prescription to a pharmacy that is working directly with Eli Lilly. So there's no middleman between Eli Lilly and the pharmacy. There's no wholesaler. So Eli Lilly sells directly to, and of course, the big one that they're working with is Amazon now. So it's just telemedicine. And if you're looking for telemedicine, I personally get my telemedicine through a company called Flex. You can check out, let's see what the URL is. It is flexnow.care/on the pen. I'm going to put that in the ticker down below here in a moment. So that's flexnow.care/on the pen. So if you're looking for telemedicine, you can check this on YouTube. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. That is flexnow.care/on the pen. That is telemedicine that I use. And they're a great company. They use 503B pharmacies for their compound medications. 503B pharmacies are important, in my opinion. It's 503B or it's not for me when it comes to compound, because 503B pharmacies are governed by the FDA. They're subject to FDA inspections. 503A pharmacies are not. And so 503B or it's not for me. I use Flex. The doctors there are great. The coaches there are great. They're really helping me push through some of the issues and struggles that I have had. So let's see here if I can jump back to the chat. And so, yeah, the other thing, because we were talking about the Lilly Direct. Even with Lilly Direct, people aren't able to find their medicine right now. I mean, it is that bad. Apparently, they are. So it's the URL is scrolling across the screen on my YouTube channel currently. So this is being streamed to YouTube as well. So you can find that link in the description. But flexnow.care/on the pen. Lilly Direct is in just as bad a way with the supply as anybody else. Supposedly in the next couple of weeks, that's going to get better. You're going to also see, you're going to see hopefully the Mounjaro shortage even out here in the next couple of weeks too. The last FDA update that we got said that it was going to be through the end of March. So we're getting there. Last couple of days here. Happy Easter to all of you who celebrate Easter. It's the Holy Weekend here in our house. We've been celebrating and observing, and so happy Easter weekend to you all. But we're almost to April. It is absolutely unbelievable that we are almost to April. So I wanted to get on and I wanted to talk shortages with you because I want you to know that I'm going to keep on top of this for you. And of course, you're getting that news about the potential single dose vials for Zepbound nowhere else but here. You'll probably start hearing about it later on, but that's why you follow Man on the Mounjaro on the pen so that you can be the first to know and make your plans accordingly. So I want to get into another piece of news here, if you would allow me to. Thank you for those who are liking, sharing, and saving these streams. I really, really appreciate that. That helps to grow the community. Much, much appreciated. But I want to talk to you a little bit about a medication that is in clinical trials called pemvidutide. So pemvidutide is a drug that is in clinical trials with a company called Altimmune. And the interesting thing about pemvidutide, we've covered it a little bit on this channel, is that pemvidutide is a GLP-1 and a glucagon agonist. So the glucagon is the component that is added in retatrutide to GLP-1 and GIP, and it seems like really what this glucagon receptor agonism is doing is absolutely just melting liver fat, which is just absolutely amazing. You're seeing in retatrutide that you're actually seeing a reversal for many people in liver fibrosis, which at one time they didn't even think was possible. They didn't even believe this to be humanly possible. So pemvidutide is a GLP-1 and a glucagon agonist. And, what they're seeing with this is that compared to semaglutide, people are losing more weight and preserving more muscle mass. So this glucagon receptor agonism is really kind of popping up, and you're seeing similar results in the retatrutide trials, is really popping up to be weight loss coupled with really good muscle mass preservation that you're not seeing in the different, the older class of GLP-1 receptor agonists. So that is absolutely amazing. Erin says she just joined and wants to know when I expect the Zepbound shortage to end. I don't expect it to end anytime soon. Hopefully, it's going to be not as bad here in about the next week or so. Bourbon RX said that his Eli Lilly rep that he deals with, he's obviously a prescriber, that the rep that he deals with says that the supply should be evening out a little bit over the next couple of weeks. I don't know how it gets better with them writing 100,000 prescriptions a week, because we went through the math a little bit earlier on this. 100,000 prescriptions, new prescriptions a week means 1.2 million extra pens per month. 1.2 million extra pens per month. They're not bringing capacity on that fast. So the shortages will get worse in my estimation, but that's why the news that I brought you at the top of this live stream is so good, and why it's so important to follow this channel is that we learned from the FDA this week. Well, actually, you learned from me. I learned from following the FDA like a hawk that there is a label change coming to Zepbound, which could indicate a new presentation, maybe a multi-dose click pen, or even a single-dose vial. So we'll have to see. As soon as I get that information, as soon as it's published by the FDA, you will have it from me. We'll do a video on it. Make sure that you follow me on all the socials. If you're watching on YouTube, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. If you're watching on TikTok, you can follow me over on YouTube. That's where all my long form content lives. And we cover all the new medications in clinical trials. We cover the shortages. And of course, I cover a little bit more about my own personal journey there as well. So I really, really appreciate you all being here today on this Saturday afternoon live stream. I'm going to sort of open it up to some questions if you have them. So now is the time to drop any questions that you may have in the chat. Thank you for those who are following the live creator over on TikTok. Make sure that you follow and stay in touch with my content. Do I think the price will change? This is a great question, Paula, over on TikTok. Would like to know if the single-dose vials or the multi-dose click pens will affect the price. And my opinion is that it will not, because I don't anticipate that people wouldn't be willing to pay the same amount of money for it. I think most of us are at the point where we just want our medicine, right? So I don't think it's going to affect the cost of the medication. It's not, I mean, the cost in these pens, we learned last week that the Ozempic pen costs about $5 to manufacture with the medicine in it. And I'm not sure exactly, but at most it costs $5 to manufacture this. So when you're talking about $1,000 medicine, you're just not talking about a significant price difference, right? So I don't think that the price will change, but the supply will, and that's what's important in as far as this conversation goes. So yeah, like Patricia said over on YouTube, we don't need the pens, we need our meds. So I don't think that anything's going to move the price until we get some competition. Until we see some of these pemvidutide, survodutide, until we see some of these other manufacturers, especially Viking Tide, Viking Therapeutics with their pill version of the GLP-1 GIP. If you follow my channel, you would know about this. We covered it this past week. We've covered it actually for months, but we covered the pill this past week, especially on our podcast, which you can check out the podcast. It's on the pen, the weekly dose. You can find that linked in the description of this video as well. But the weekly dose podcast is something that we use that platform to cover the Viking Tide pill that launched some phase 1 trial data this past week, which will be amazing because they'll be able to manufacture that a lot quicker than they do the pens. And hopefully that competition with tirzepatide will ultimately drive down costs and increase accessibility to the medication. So that is super, super exciting one to follow. And again, this is the type of stuff you get from following this channel. Like it's not your typical GLP-1 channel where you're getting a lot of somebody's personal journey. I don't share a ton about my journey. I'm sharing more on YouTube, but Jamie wants to know how long before the pills from Viking Tide will be accessible. And unfortunately, that's going to be several years. It's just in phase 1 trials. So we're probably a good 4 or 5 years away from that. But we will see orforglipron hit the market from Eli Lilly before then. That's in phase 3 trials. We will see high-dose Rybelsus, high-dose semaglutide oral later this year, where those pills will rival the Wegovy shot. So right now, the best weight loss that you can get is with Wegovy, which is semaglutide 2.4. We're going to see Rybelsus, the pill form of this, in 50 milligram. And with the 50 milligram Rybelsus pill, you see actually very similar weight loss to Wegovy. So that is interesting to note. So that'll be something to watch. And these are competition, but it's still competition from Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, like their own selves, right? So Robin wants to know how long the shortages will last. The shortages are going to last well into 2025. That's from Eli Lilly themselves. Did I say 503B is important? So going back to the pharmacies, 503A versus 503B. It's 503B or it's not for me, right? No shade against anybody else, but 503B pharmacies are governed by the FDA. They're subject to FDA oversight. They're also subject to something called the current goods manufacturing process, which if you've ever worked in manufacturing, it is extremely important to have good systems, checks, and balances. They can actually have machines fill medicine a lot more accurately than when somebody's mixing it by hand over and over and over and over. So it's 503B, or if it's not for me, you can check flexnow.care//on the pin for more information. On Mounjaro type 2, every pharmacy within 450 miles is out. You see, that's what I'm talking about. That's why this is so important to cover, is the shortages, right? Karen just became a new member over on YouTube. Karen, welcome to the family. Good to have you. Thank you for joining. Really, really, really appreciate that. So, wow. A. Merlu, this is new for me. A. Merlu says that she's seen retatrutide at a med spa. Please send me that information about where you're finding that. That is beyond illegal. Send me a message at mounjaroman@gmail.com. I have got to follow up on that. Thank you for those who are following the live creator. Is Wegovy becoming more available? It should be. So Novo Nordisk, who is the manufacturer of Wegovy, had been putting their starter doses on kind of a hiatus, right? And they announced this past month that they are going to start making the low doses again. And I think that you'll probably see Eli Lilly do something similar with Zepbound when it gets bad enough. So I think that Wegovy will become a little bit easier to find. Of course, you've got more competition coming to Wegovy with Zepbound. So you're going to see the Wegovy supply ease up a little bit because you're going to see more people move to Zepbound. Can you switch back to Wegovy if you can't find Zepbound? That is definitely a conversation with your doctor, but I can tell you having a backup medication in a similar class of medication for your chronic disease is probably a good idea. Definitely talk to your doctor about that. Michelle gave a $10 super sticker over on YouTube. Thank you for the gifts. 10% of all the gifts that we make on the channel this month, and as well as the memberships, 10% is going to go to one paid member either on TikTok or YouTube. You can become a member up here by clicking the star on TikTok or on YouTube. You can click the link in the description below to become a member over there, a paid member. One member is going to get 10% of all the gifts given this week. Timeline on CagriSema. CagriSema should be hitting the market, I believe, in early 2020, mid to late 2025, I believe is the timeline on that. Daphne, welcome. Do I think Mounjaro is going to get harder to find on the lower doses? It could. It very well could. I think what they're going to do is they're going to roll the shortages. So if you see right now, we're seeing the dosages in the 10 through the 15 in shortage. I think we may see the 2.5 through the 7.5 next, right? Because people kind of tend to waffle back and forth on these doses, right? So frustrating. But any thoughts on why Eli Lilly is now on TikTok? I think Eli Lilly has been on TikTok, but they're not really taggable. I would love to see them be taggable. # release the vials. If you are just subscribing to my channel, thank you for becoming a subscriber. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so lots of information. Retta is all over the net. Yeah, so it's very important to understand the difference between compound medications or generic medications that are available through 503A and 503B pharmacies. 503B, or it's not for me. But you want to make sure that you're not buying something that doesn't require a prescription from a doctor. Please make sure that you are getting these medications through your doctor. You should be monitored by a medical professional throughout the entire journey on any medication, including GLP-1 and GIP medications, because you have a chronic disease. You're treating a chronic disease with these medications, and that ought to be monitored. You want to see where progress is being made. You want to make sure that you're getting the healthiest version of you out of the medications that you're using, and having a medical professional involved in your treatment is paramount to that, right? Everything is a tool to overcoming the chronic disease that we have. Your doctor team, your care team is one of them. The medicines you use are another. Your lifestyle changes are another. All of these things work together to help us combat the chronic disease that we're all dealing with. So thank you for the gifts over on TikTok. I appreciate it. Why don't they just release the vials? I hope that they will. I think that they're afraid of people splitting doses. I think that's the main thing, and it's fair. But they're not multi-use doses. They don't have the proper preservatives in them to be like drawing multiple doses out of the vials. So they're single dose vials, but I think they're afraid of people not using them that way. And in so, losing out on some revenue, right? So just a couple more minutes that we'll spend here. I'm going to go watch the Iowa women's team play basketball, hopefully win again and get to the Sweet 16. That is the plan for those girls. So that will be awesome. Hashtag Caitlin Clark. She has been an awesome, awesome gift to those of us in Iowa who don't usually have a lot to root for in sports. But man, Caitlin Clark has been fun to watch. Canada is using vials, right? And this is a question that I get too, and I'm glad you brought that up, Nima. Canada has single-dose vials. Australia has single-dose vials, and people are like, well, Dave, they're in shortage up there too. That's not going to help here. Yes, it is. You got to understand that in Canada and in Australia, they don't pay anything for their medications compared to what we pay for our medications here. So it just becomes a dollars and cents thing, right? Yeah, go Iowa women, go Lady Hawks, go Hawks. I am in Iowa. Yes, I am. So I think that it's important to understand that right now it's all about manufacturing capacity, and they are using all of their manufacturing capacity to put it where the money is coming in, right? And that's in the United States market, Zepbound and Mounjaro. It is not in Canada and Australia. So that's why they're on shortage, because right now the American market is tapping out their manufacturing resources. And they're making moves, right, to increase capacity, but they've told us with their own mouths that the shortages are going to last through 2025. So that was on the last earnings call. And I think it's going to be even harsher language in this next earnings call at the end of April or beginning of May, because they're going to be like, well, this is unprecedented. This is we're writing more scripts than we could have even imagined. And so I think you're just going to see them get worse, unfortunately. Nancy's in Des Moines. Well, that's so awesome. Thanks for being here. Can't these pens get refurbished and reused? Actually, Novo Nordisk has a recycling program for their Ozempic pens. I would love it if Eli Lilly would do the same for these. These are a huge waste. You don't even have to be like a conservationist to look at this and go, this is wasteful. So hopefully we'll see single dose vials or multi-dose click pens and some sort of recycle program in these. So that would be great. So I am so thankful to have spent some time with you today. Please make sure that if this is your first time here, or if maybe it's not, but if you're here and you haven't subscribed on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, find me on all the places. But my big ask of you would be to check out the podcast. The podcast called The Weekly Dose is a weekly one-stop shop for all your news in incretin mimetic therapies. That's what all these medications are. They fall under the umbrella of incretin mimetic therapies. Incretins are a class of hormones made in your gut, and incretins are responsible for delaying gastric emptying, reducing the gluconeogenesis in your liver, bringing down the level of insulin you need on a baseline, helping your body to process insulin more efficiently, working in the pleasure reward centers in the hypothalamus of your brain to help you feel full and to fight back against food noise. That's what incretin mimetics are. And so all the news that comes out about these weekly, I run it down on a podcast called On the Pen, The Weekly Dose. You can find it in the link in the description on my YouTube channel, or you can just go to wherever you get podcasts. On the Pen, The Weekly Dose. I'm going to drop in the YouTube one more time the picture for that so you can check that out. And I hope that you'll check that out. I hope you'll give it a 5-star rating and review. Thank you for those who already have. I really appreciate your kind words. We're almost to 5,000 downloads. So with 150 of you who are watching over on TikTok, we've got another bunch of you watching over on YouTube, about another 100 over on YouTube or so. Can you please go over to the podcast and download it, give it a 5-star rating and review. We're almost to 5,000, and I'd love to celebrate that before the end of the month. So thank you. On the Pen, The Weekly Dose podcast. Happy Easter, everybody. I hope that you have a blessed Easter. For those of you who are also believers in Christ like myself, it is a special reflective time of year to think about the sacrifice that Christ made for us to provide us right relationship with God. So one of the things I've been doing at the end of my lives, because I am a believer in Christ and because I am a believer in all of you, is to just bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being the best part of what I do On the Pen. And we will catch you on the next one.